a member of OCO, the Orange County Congregation Community Organization. OCO believes in identifying problems, turning those problems into focus issues, and taking next steps towards solutions and resolutions.
As a part of the community of San Juan Capistrano, we want to work with the community at large in identifying community problems, clearly identifying the issues we need to focus on, and taking the appropriate next steps toward resolution in partnership together.
We are here tonight to address the parking problem in the Capistrano Villas. On March 3rd, 2009, the San Juan Capistrano City Council voted to prohibit overnight parking on Camino Capistrano between La Zanja Street and Oso Road.
In response to the ban, CREER and check leaders walked door to door and spoke with hundreds of residents in their neighborhood. They heard that residents are afraid they will have to walk long distances at night to find parking and fear for their safety while doing so. There is already a long-standing lack of parking within the Capistrano Villas. Families with more than 3 adults, which would be in-laws, teenage drivers, adults, college students, etc., they need additional parking. And then residents will find it difficult to have overnight guests stay with their families, including grandparents, cousins, family, friends, because there is no guest parking available within the Capistrano Villas.
On April 7th, over 50 members of the community turned out to the City Council meeting to ask the city to reconsider their decision and re-agendize the parking ban after sufficient time and notice has been given to residents. The city has responded by delaying implementation of the parking ban. Street signs have been covered. After a review of pertinent laws, the matter may be brought back to the agenda.
Since then, we have conducted research with the Homeowners Association in the Capistrano Villas, and we have learned some very significant information about parking and overcrowding in the Capistrano Villas, as well as the need for affordable housing.
The Capistrano Villas neighborhood, or the Villas as people from San Juan refer to it, is located west of Camino Capistrano between the intersections of Mission Street and Oso Road, and it was approved in 1970. There are 799 units split between 3 HOA groups and managed by Coastal Resource Management. Some are 2 bedrooms and the rest are 3 bedrooms. Approximately half of the units have a 1-car garage and the others have 2. Each unit is allowed to purchase, This totals approximately 1,204 garage spaces, which averages to 1.5 off-street parking spaces per unit. Each unit is allowed to purchase street parking permits. Those with 1 garage are allowed to purchase 2 street permits, 1 street permit per 2-car garage. This amounts to 1,200 permits or 1.5 spaces per unit. However, we counted twice and the streets can only accommodate approximately 874 cars, which averages to 1.09 street parking spaces per unit. Clearly, there is a parking problem in the Capistrano Villas.
How did this problem arise? First, the villas was approved before the enactment of the California Environmental Quality Act, and thus there was no environmental analysis undertaken by the original developer, Westport, or by the city staff as to whether the project provided for adequate parking capacity. The city's project files indicate that as early as 1979, some 30 years ago, residents in the villas were complaining about the chronic lack of parking in the villas. For many years thereafter, homeowners' complaints about parking persisted, and in 1994, the city tried to address these complaints by approving a parking permit program for the villas.
The minimum of 1,120 spots the city counted in 1994 when the parking program began was later reduced significantly when curbs at corners and on either side of the alleys were painted red due to traffic safety concerns. Later, a large area on the north side of La Zanja was painted red at the suggestion of law enforcement. This accounts for our current count of 874 spaces versus the 1,120 figure the city has been using. The 1994 program has been modified several times, but it has never succeeded in eliminating the serious parking problems that have plagued the villas since the units were first built.
Second, car ownership has increased. According to the 2000 census, the Capistrano Villas had an average of 2.13 cars per unit. Since 2000, car ownership has increased across the board, and now the average number of cars per unit may top 3. With 3 cars per unit, the minimum amount of parking spaces needed would be 2,397. That's 799 units times 3 cars per unit, 2,397 spaces minus 2,078 available spaces on and off street equals a lack of 319 needed parking spaces.
For many years, residents have used available street parking on Camino Capistrano between La Zanja Street and Oso Road to deal with the lack of parking in the villas. The City Council's decision to ban this overnight parking amounts to the loss of approximately 100 much-needed parking spaces.
So instead of seeing it as a lack of adequate parking spaces, the City Council stated that parking problems in the Capistrano Villas may be due to residents allegedly using their garages as living spaces and due to overcrowding. They also had concerns about the impact overnight parking has on traffic. We will address all these 3 issues briefly.
First, the traffic. The city staff report states that during the past 3 years, there have been 14 accidents on this stretch of Camino Capistrano. 2 were crashes between moving cars, 9 were cars hitting parked cars. These statistics are below norms for streets of this size and area, and no pedestrians were involved. Therefore, overnight parking on this stretch of Camino Capistrano does not have much of a negative impact on traffic.
The HOAs and Coastal Resource Management has provided statistics regarding garage habitations. In the past year, there was 1 verified case in the Capistrano Villas. This case was reported to code enforcement. The property eventually went to foreclosure and all the residents moved.
For other cases of alleged garage habitation, letters were sent when it was noted that vents in the garage were blocked off, as this could be a sign of possible garage habitation. No further evidence of garage habitation was found and the seals were removed.
The HOAs and Coastal Resource Management do not believe that garage habitation is widespread and make every effort possible to deal with any suspected garage habitation. They welcome any information on alleged garbage habitation within the Capistrano Villas. Next, we would like to address the subject of overcrowding.
What is overcrowding? Webster's dictionary defines it as occupying to excess. We did some research into the subject of housing occupancy limits, and here is what we found. Cities in California are subject to the state's Uniform Housing Code. UHC 503.2 states that there be 4 people or less per 170 square feet of sleeping area, with 50 square feet needed per additional person. The 3-bedroom Capistrano Villa floor plans range from approximately 1,123 to 1,145 square feet. According to UHC 503.2, 12 persons residing in a 3-bedroom, 1,150 square feet unit at the villas would be allowed under the state occupancy laws, but practically, this might be considered overcrowding.
If there is overcrowding, we are sure it is due to the rising cost of living, the state of the economy, and the lack of affordable housing in San Juan Capistrano.